Hello and welcome to my review of the Nintendo Switch 2. As you can see, we have an OG Switch, a Switch OLED, and a Switch 2. The docks for each of them. And then I've got a Pro controller for the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. I'll also be reviewing the cases. So I actually live in Canada, so I'll be talking the Canadian prices. But my Switch 2 cost $700, $699.99. That came with Mario Kart World. If you weren't buying Mario Kart World, I believe it was like $630 for just the Switch 2. And then I'll also be reviewing the case, which was $50 and came with a screen protector. And I will be reviewing the Pro controller as well, which was $109.99 or basically 110 Canadian dollars. So first, let's talk about the old units. This is an OG Switch that I bought about a month after it came out. I didn't buy it on release, but I bought it in the June of that year, and I think they came out in early May. So yeah, as you can see, there is a little like black border around it. So the actual screen on this guy is smaller. And then I did upgrade to the OLED Switch. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that, but my reasoning at the time was OLEDs are supposed to be brighter. And I actually used to play my Switch outside quite a lot. I had a nice backyard and I liked just sitting back there, catching some rays and playing my Switch games. Yeah, sometimes I would just sit out there and it was really hard to see. So I thought, oh, with the OLED, maybe I'll be able to see when it's really bright and sunny out. Unfortunately, that was not the case. But I have good news. I did test the Switch 2 outside on a really bright sunny day, and I was able to beat some Mario Kart World like 150cc knockout races, which is some of the hardest stuff in the game to beat. And I was able to 3-star them while sitting outside in the sun. Some of the darker areas on certain levels was a little tricky, like when it's dark out, because you get bad reflection. Like you can see my hand right now in the reflection. So you can imagine the game, when you're at a dark stage, it's sort of hard to see the characters. But outside of that, if it was a sunnier area on the course, it was very easy to see even on a super bright and sunny day. Tried it with a hat on, with shades on, without. Yeah, so pretty good visibility. I would say better than the OLED, which is very surprising because OLED is supposed to have like brighter resolution than an LCD. So I was very pleased with that from the Switch 2. So next, let's look at the cases. This is my OG Switch case. It's got like a decent shell. It can push in, but it does provide protection. And yeah, what I really like is how big this mesh is back here to fit things like a charging cable or your headphones, which you could plug into. These do have Bluetooth capability now, so that's less of an issue. But back when I first got this, I just used I believe it came with those headphones, and I would just plug them in. So I really liked the size of this mesh, but obviously pretty basic case. There was nowhere for your cartridges. Then on the OLED, I got a case that has the cartridge room, and again, lots of room for a long charging cable, which is nice. Oh, I folded it the other way. And you can protect your case a little more. So cool story, I was hiking in the Swiss Alps and we got rained on for 7 hours, my sister and I. And the only thing that stayed dry was actually my Switch in this protective case. Even my passport got damaged. I wish I'd tossed my passport in here. But yeah, basically everything in our packs was completely soaked. It was like standing in a shower for 7 straight hours. And yeah, thankfully my Switch was fine. So very, very cool. And again, this case, very similar to the last one in terms of durability. And yeah, I was super pleased with that after the hike. And now we move on to this one. This is like the official Nintendo Switch 2 case. One thing that is very underrated, one second. There, I got the tripod set up. So what I wanted to talk about was actually these two little loops. So if we close our Switch case, you can actually just loop your fingers right through that and carry it like that. This is actually very, very handy. Just the other day, I had a bunch of stuff in my hands and I wanted to take my stuff downstairs. And I just threw my Switch in the case, wrapped my fingers through the loop, and you can just carry it with one finger. So I actually really like that addition. But one thing I don't like as much is, as you can see, the mesh is a lot smaller. Yes, it does still fit a charging cable, which is good, but I just don't like how much smaller it is. And like this space is completely unutilized. where this one is. That being said, I bought this one as I was checking out. I did the midnight release of the Switch 2 about a week ago. And yeah, as I was checking out, I was just like, hey, do you have any cases left? The reason I didn't pre-order a case, I pre-ordered the Switch with Mario Kart World and the Pro controller, but I didn't pre-order the case because I wanted to wait and like look at the cases online before I bought one. But then, like I said, I got thinking about it. It would be really good to have a case if I want to take it on the road or whatever in the next few months before like some aftermarket cases come to market. So yeah, really my only complaint is the lack of really anything going on there, but it does have cartridge holders right here. So it does have the cartridge holders. It can hold at least the charging cable, which at the end of the day is all you need, but I wouldn't have minded seeing them do something with that. And again, it's the same pretty protective shell, so it will keep it protected. And as I talked about, they're fairly waterproof as well. So pretty good case. And like I said, these loops are awesome. So for 50 bucks, definitely recommend. And that came with a screen protector. I haven't put that on, but it did come with that for 50 Canadian. Onto the docks. I know there's a bunch of different technology going on with the Switch 2 dock. You can see it is a little bigger than the previous versions. And then it's got the same stuff on the back. So there's actually like a cooler and stuff. If you watch the Nintendo reveal of the Switch 2, it more talked about the components going on. But as you can see, AC adapter, HDMI out, and then there is a LAN port, which I don't plug my Ethernet in because I have that in my PS5 and my PC in my living room, and I only have 2 outlets. But if you did want to direct connect, that is an option for you. I don't really play my Switch online much. I mostly use it in handheld. I am streaming Mario Kart World quite a bit on the TV, but my typical use of these two was always basically at airports anytime I traveled, or like I said, just chilling in my backyard. But the dock is nice, very, very quick and easy to set up, and doesn't take up too much space, as I'll show you. So here's my messy cabinet where my PS5 sits. I have an external hard drive and then a PS5 controller charging station. But like I said, here's how easy it is to set up. Let me just tilt the camera down. Got your HDMI. Plugs in this way. Power cord. If the focus can get right, it cannot. But anyways, it's just a USB-C. Plugs in right there. Run these cords down a bit. And then it just snaps into place. There. Yeah, so the cords just come out right here. And then I just sit it in here like that. And like I said, very economical in terms of the amount of space it takes up compared to this giant monster. My absolute biggest gripe with the Switch 2 is somehow it still does not turn on remotely. So at least I don't know how to. If there is a way that you don't have to come down here and click that and you can just turn it on from your controller like a PlayStation, please let me know in the comments. But it's 2025 and somehow they still don't have that remote functionality figured out. That is probably my biggest disappointment with the Switch 2. And if me having to bend down and click the power button every time I want to play it while docked is the biggest issue I have, I think that speaks pretty highly to the Switch 2. So obviously a big change from the Switch to the Switch 2 was these JoyCons. So the old ones slid in, and here you can see the size of them. And with the Switch 2, there's just a little lever right here. I'm not used to doing this backwards, but if you just click it, boom, it comes out. And then from the other side, boom, just like that. So now I'll just compare the size of the two. You can see the new one is bigger, which is nice for people like me with bigger hands. Like I wear extra large gloves. So not huge hands, but like pretty standard size hands. I do like the bigger JoyCons. It's very nice. And then to snap back into place, it's very cool. It literally just pulls itself in. Super, super simple. Just kind of hover it there, boom. Very easy to do. So here's a proper screen size comparison. We have the OG, the OLED, and the Switch 2. So that Switch 2 screen, I am just so pleased with it. It being bigger is really, really nice. And like I said, the lighting that it has is excellent in the sun, which really surprised me. One of the big disappointments I had when they announced the Switch 2 was that it wasn't an OLED screen. So I thought it would actually be worse outside. And I'm pleased to say, out in the sun, somehow this LCD screen is actually better than the Switch OLED. So, and the screen looks great. Like the clarity, I believe it's 1080p in handheld, and you can get up to 4K HDR. I didn't really talk about that when talking about the dock, but you can get up to 4K HDR on your TV. The picture looks absolutely wonderful. Super pleased with it. So yeah, I talked about it being able to play 4K. So there it is. I think it just auto detects your TV's resolution, but you can change those settings if you like. And like I said, it has HDR. Again, the actual quality looks amazing. So there you can just see a load screen on Mario Kart World. And then literally just as I stopped that take, it was loaded. So that's another thing. The load times on this Switch 2 are fantastic. Everything, I guess I've only played one game, but I've also seen some things online that even Switch 1 games are playing better on the Switch 2. So that's quite cool. But again, yeah, there's HDR 4K, looks fantastic. Yeah, super pleased with it. So the little Joy-Con controller, here's the comparison. Again, naturally, it's just going to be a little bit bigger because the Joy-Cons are bigger. But if we line it up here, width-wise, it's basically the same. And this does come with your Switch 2 package. I didn't have to buy this. It comes in the box. There is only one, but yeah, it's nice that it comes with one. Speaking of things it comes with, it also comes with these wrist straps for your Joy-Cons. So that's nice. All right, now let's talk the Pro Controller. So one thing that's really cool is the old Pro Controller works on the Switch 2, which is awesome because I have 3 of them, I believe. So now I have 4 total. So I could play with 4 friends, couch co-op, and we can all use a Pro Controller, which is really nice. But I want to talk about this thing because this is probably the thing I'm most pleased with. It feels really good in your hand. Let's just do a size comparison for a second. It is a little smaller, visibly and by feel, or maybe it's not. It feels smaller anyways, but when you actually look at them, no, it is a little smaller. You can definitely feel that it's a little smaller, but it is very comfortable. It's got a D-pad. It's got that C button for the chat thing, which everyone likes to meme on. You've got your back controllers. I'm not even sure what this is. Maybe it's a pairing thing, but the way I paired mine was just plugging a USB-C into my Switch and into the other end, and it paired instantly. All right, so one thing that is really awesome about the old Pro controllers is they do work with the new Switch. So I literally just took a USB-C to USB-C. This is the cord I use to charge my phone, and I was able to pair it. If I unplug it here, you can see it still works. So it paired up basically as soon as I plugged it in. So that's really nice that it's got, I guess, forward compatibility might be the word. But yeah, very, very nice. But the big thing is that it has these bottom paddles and they feel great. The only thing is it doesn't have adaptive triggers. So let me show you my PS5 Pro controller here. So this thing I also love. You can like change your bottom keybinds just with these little buttons, which is really nice, where you do it from the home screen on the Switch 2. And yeah, it's got these bottom triggers, but it also has the adaptive triggers up here, and you can change the length of the press. So you can see this one I've got on a shorter press because of the last game I was playing. But yeah, this thing was like 280 Canadian dollars. This one, 110. The value of this thing cannot be understated. I am so pleased. Like, I know 110 still sounds like a lot for a controller, but when you compare it to this thing, which it's essentially the Nintendo's version of this Pro Sense Edge controller. I can't even remember the name of it. Don't get me wrong, I love this thing and I use it all the time. The battery on this thing lasts maybe 4 hours because it's got the speakers, the haptic feedback, all that stuff. This one doesn't have all those bells and whistles, but I kid you not, the day I got Mario Kart World, I streamed for 11 hours and 15 minutes. I don't know what the battery was on it, but it never had to be plugged in. I plugged it in at the end of that session anyways. If you wanted to use this, you'd have to have it plugged in the whole time or stop to charge like every 4 hours. The sticks feel great on it. Yeah, just feels really good in your hands. Again, I have like probably a bit bigger than average hands, but it feels great. Same with holding the Switch 2. Just feels really good to hold. So, sorry, I can't get, my tripod's not tall enough. But yeah, it feels really, really good. Just unbelievably pleased with the Pro Controller. So speaking of battery life, I did want to talk about that on the Switch 2. So when I was playing outside in the sun, I'd crank the brightness up all the way, and I played for over 3 hours, maybe close to 4, before I got the low battery alarm. So I didn't run it to dead, but yeah, you could probably realistically play it for about 4 hours on max brightness, which to me is actually really, really good. Obviously the battery will degrade over time, but out the box, yeah, to me, I'm pretty pleased with that. And I usually play it plugged in, like when I'm traveling, like I said, at the airport, I have a portable USB, and then obviously the airplane seats have USB chargers. So yeah, 4 hours unplugged at max brightness is quite good. So that brings us to the question that you probably wanted answered with this video, which is this thing worth it? So for everything you're seeing here, that was $900. As I said, this was $110, $50, $700 with Mario Kart World, and then it came with these two things. And that's Canadian, so $900 Canadian, probably looking at around, and that's with tax, everything, walking out the door with all this, probably around $650 US. So don't get me wrong, that's a pretty steep price to pay, but the PS5 on its own, I think a PS5 Pro is right around that. And you get all the Nintendo IP with this. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm paying for. Sure, only Mario Kart World is out right now, but in the future, I'm going to be buying Metroid, I'm going to be buying DK Bonanza, whatever Zelda stuff comes out. This is why you buy a Nintendo, right? Mario Party, they make party games that people love. The other factor you have to consider, especially if you're in the States, is all this tariff nonsense that's going on. I joked with some of my friends, I said by pre-ordering this, I may be getting the Switch 2 at the cheapest it'll ever be. Shockingly, Xbox raised prices on their Xboxes by like $100. I don't think Sony has followed suit, but they released a PS5 Pro at a ridiculous amount. Like you could buy, you know, starter kit PCs for basically what PS5 Pros are going for. So to me, the Switch OG was incredible value. The Switch OLED, like I said, if I could take it back, I probably wouldn't have bought it because it didn't do what I was hoping it would do, and my previous Switch works just fine, even still to this day, 8 years later. So for the Switch 2, I'm gonna have this thing forever. Every time I go to the airport, I have this thing on me. Like I said, I have completely beat Metroid Dread just on an airplane. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like I played with my friends, but all that story stuff you can do. All that stuff I do while traveling. So you really just have to ask yourself, how do you use the Switch? And like, will you use it, etc. How do you like to use it? For me, it is my handheld of choice. I don't own a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or any of these things. If I'm playing PC games, I'm playing it on my PC at home. If I'm playing PlayStation exclusive games, I'm playing them on my PlayStation. If I want to play Nintendo games, I have to buy a Switch. And honestly, I have no problem with that. I've already sunk probably 30 hours into Mario Kart World, playing it both handheld and on the TV. It looks great. Yeah, just incredibly pleased with it. So for me, it's been 100% worth it. So anyways, that's been my review after messing around with the Switch 2 for a week. Like I said, I think the pricing is honestly fair given just inflation over the years and how much Xbox and PlayStation and obviously PCs are very expensive. But given, yeah, just the broader state of console gaming, I think it's fair value, 100%. I know there's not a ton of IP out right now, but we know Nintendo will deliver many more awesome games over the next 7 or 8 years, whatever the life cycle is for the Switch 2. So if you were on the fence, wasn't sure how it was, is it worth an upgrade? To me, 100% it is. Again, just the upgrade to play the games is what I'm mostly paying for, but the actual product you're getting, there's a lot of improvements over the Switch 1, and I've been very pleased with it. So anyways, that's it for the video. I hope it was helpful and informative, and if it was, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. This is definitely a different style of video, but mostly I do gaming news and reviews. So check out my other videos, and yeah, hopefully see you in some future ones. Anyways, that's it. Take care.